doesn't look really useful, but it's really useful geometry around the cabin. We have this plane, which is giving where I have. We have here Sintel cabin. Let's watch there. That plane on top of everything. Desktops. There. I love having a lot of desktops, but I don't love it when I miss. I don't have control over it. It's like, where was it? So this plane over here, it gives some of the light we see here, like most of the bluish light that is a little bit everywhere. We don't really see it, but it is there. It is there. I'm telling you, it is. I also model this geometry around, which is this is the very first time. Maybe it's not the best, the most elegant, but this is the first time I work with global illumination. I never worked. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, I just had a question. With indirect lighting, could you walk us through maybe some of the settings of the indirect lighting, just to show us, like, bounces and things like that, like, because it's a fairly new feature. And yeah.
Okay. It's actually one button, but yeah, has 2-3 options. Yep.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to ask because personally, I had problems. Well, not problems, but I was not used to this type of workflow when I was at the institute. Since everything is linked in the final files, how did you manage to light and shade in 2 different scenes? Like, did you do your lighting in your modeling scene where you texture everything and link in the light groups? Or did you do the lighting in the final with?
Yeah, the workflow for this scene was first getting, the animation sort of done, camera, and then just try to replace all the geometry with more high-res-ish thing. And after that, I don't know if it really works for everyone, but I have this kind of workflow. I add a material override option on the render layers. Here, you can set a material to override all the materials in that render layer. So I basically add a gray material without specular, just plain gray, and start adding lights on it, so everything has an even lighting. And after that, then I start adding the colors and textures and everything. But I didn't have many issues with that. Maybe I didn't have as much control as if I was doing the lighting right here. But yeah, basically I was just in one blend file.
We made a big mess.
Yeah, a big mess.
No, I think most of us basically, because you start with one shot from a scene, right? So you link in all your geometry that you make in the props file or in the scene file, and that you do light just to test to see if the geometry is correct and the materials are correct. And then you, when you're finished, you link it into the first scene file, so the first with the animation and everything in it. And you set up your lighting locally there, and then you just copy everything. You take one file, you finish it as much as you can, and then you make multiple copies of that file for the other shots in the scene, sort of. But it's a bit messy and it's a bit tricky, because if we're doing it in a props file, right, you have a file with only the cabin, without Sintel, without any animation, and you light everything in there, and then suddenly somewhere else you're going to add Sintel, it's going to look different if you add models and different things. Hang on, coming. By the way, that was Jean-Sébastien. He also worked on the project. Yay! But in secret, kind of.
I was going to ask, do you find the shaders are particularly volatile under different lighting conditions? So once you've got it lit under one condition and then you move it to a different scene, do you ever have to go back and adjust your shader settings to get it to work? I always find in Blender, compared to different render engines, that you have to tweak the materials a hell of a lot depending on your lighting setup. And how do you do that with groups?
Yes, it's not that easy. You can, I try to make the shaders as much as even as I can, so they don't have many issues if I change lighting or whatever. But sometimes you need that extra little change. And for that,
we used Python.
we used Python.
Yeah.
It's not the most user-friendly thing, but it's really handy.
In extreme cases, you can go, you've linked in a group with lots of stuff, right? And everything is linked in, so you don't think you can change anything in that group. But you can use Python to access anything in a blend file, so also the linked in stuff. So if you really need to change a setting for a material, you can make a little Python script that accesses that material through the links and everything when that blend file is opened and makes that one little change. So you want to have a solid setup so it'll work almost always, but when it really doesn't, you can change it. Huh? Sorry?
So yeah,
I
I was going to show, I was waiting. So basically what we used is these little Python scripts we made. But for me, I before Sintel, I didn't know anything about Python, but like really basic. But after Sintel, I got, well, I think it's 2.5 fault that I got into Python because it's so simple. It's Campbell made all this awesome system. It's so simple. You only have to remember a few things like Bpy, you know, that Bpy is Python via Blender Python. So once you get there, you just press Control Space and you get suggestions. So you can have you can access to a lot of little modules inside. One of the most awesome ones is data. So you can access to the data. Once you access to the data, you just press Control Space again until you get this greenish thing. And then you have materials, libraries, meshes, metables, everything in your blend file, almost everything you can access via Python, even if it's linked. So, for example, well, you already seen the movie, yes. The dragons, you know, we have two big dragons. One is the one on the cigarette on that shot where the baby dragon is taken away. And the other one is Scales on the last shot on the cave. Yeah, he's Scales. Sorry.
Are you trying to sneak in, David?
We used actually one blend file with one dragon, one rig. We only had two different sculpt data. You know, in 2.5 you have a multi-resolution modifier. In 2.4 it used to be like just one property of the mesh, like one thing. In 2.5 you have a modifier called multi-resolution, which is here, and you can save external file. So your character can be completely different on a sculpting stage, right? It has to look a bit similar, like have 4 legs, and but you can change it completely via like sculpting. All the little details change. It has to look. It could look completely different, and you can switch that with Python. Just the way we were working here. You can access Bpy data, and then let's say, well, here we don't have any
do material or something.
Yeah, we don't have any mesh multi-resolution, but we can access, for example, the materials. So let's say I have all these materials here, like 004, 003, 002. When you work in a team, it's good to avoid that kind of things. But this scene was basically like my scene. I was only playing with it, so it's I was lazy. I tried to name some of the things, and my English is not far from perfect, so it's maybe I need some of the names. But you can access, for example, the properties for the like wood, and then beams. I'm just pressing Control Space all the time, just to.
It tries to auto-complete for you, and when it can't, it gives you options. It's the entire list of stuff you can get.
And for Blender to fix my spelling also. So once I access Bpy data materials, I can keep accessing its properties. Like use face, use ray shadow, use ray trace. You can enable, disable, change the properties for everything. Like, let's see, the diffuse, ramp, diffuse, Fresnel.
What are you trying to do?
To show that all the, like, you can access little options in it. So let's see, for example, you want to change the diffuse intensity on it. You have, diffuse intensity is 1, so you can access a library from this Blender. You can access, I want to see how bad the diffuse intensities, or I want to disable subsurface scattering for this shot because the character is on the background and I don't really need it and it's taking render time, and maybe in 4K we need it. It's horrible. But in 2K, if the character is too far away, you can disable like traceable so it doesn't take ray tracing into account, or SSS in this case. Or just change it. So we had all these little tiny scripts that...
And what did you then? You see? You saw the trick you did? You typed it in all in one key.
Oh, yeah,
Ooh.
going up and down. You can go...
You've got history in there.
It's nice. And nice. One of the things Campbell added also is that you can change it to a shell. Yeah, that's an experiment. It's not really official, but it's you can change to a shell console inside Blender, and you can do like SVN update from there. Yeah,
I do know.
It's awesome. Well, he told me, and I tried it once, but it wasn't.
But so the trick is you can change it now, right?
Yeah, I can change. For example, I can say change it to like 0.4 instead. So now if I check what the value is, that's the value.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And then if you have this and you want to do this every time, right? You take this line of code. First you do import Bpy in a text editor. You put this code in and you, what is it? Register script is the button, I think.
Yeah. If
So
you
like
want
that,
this to be like on a startup every time, otherwise I don't want to do it, and the farm is not going to do it magically for you. So you have to put it in a text file. So what's the shortcut for the text editor?
What? Sorry? Go on.
There.
Why is not rounded? Why is not
It's a mathematical precision sort of thing in Blender, because you can't, if you round it, basically the zeros would go infinitely, right? So it's a mathematical thing sort of somewhere, I don't know. Ton would ask a coder. Wait, here, look, Vibram knows.
Oh yeah, but it's a very difficult story. It's the computers store fractions. They store a half, a fourth, an eighth, and a 16th, and a 32th, and that's stored binary. That's the way floating point numbers are stored in computers, so they can calculate more quickly. But nothing is precise in computers.
I'm so happy I'm an artist.
Especially in Blender. So yeah, basically this is how you add import Bpy. You have to name your text as something.py, has that name, otherwise it's not going to run. And then you enable the button that you don't see here because of my theme sucks, it's register. But you see it's grayed out because I didn't name it py. Then it's enable. So there you can register, and that will run on every update. Every time you open the blend file, it's going to run these settings. Yeah. So you just copy paste, and you know, Python works by lines, so you can just keep adding lines and lines and lines and change your material completely. Or like we did with the dragon at the end, we had one blend file with one dragon and one rigging, and we just use these lines to change the multi-res mesh, to change the material, and to change the groups, the lighting for the groups or the eyes or whatever. Yep.
This is awesome. This is great. So, but couldn't there just be like a script or an option that, I mean, if this is possible, looks rather easy. So there could easily be like a specials menu when you have groups that you can access every material by default with a script.
Yeah, you can look.
Yeah, but you cannot edit them.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be, if it's possible with Python, wouldn't it be an option to just
I
by
think
default
if we can do it this way, yeah, it is there. It is there.
It is there.
But but it's just not user friendly because it's just implemented not really long ago. I mean, just 2.5.
In theory, it would be rather easy to make like an interface for changing every.
Yeah, developers, any?
Yeah, feature request. Yeah.
Make our life easy, please.
I was just wondering, because this is really cool, is it possible some way to do that based on render layer? So let's say in one render layer, your object have a material, and in the other render layer, you can override the material to be different, but only in this render layer, not in the scene.
Ah, no, but
let's say local to make it.
No, but you could. I don't think so. If the object is the same, I mean, you can have like one empty duplicate group one and another empty duplicate group the same thing, but it's another empty, and you access the data via the object. So the object is different. It's empty and empty all one.
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking like, you can do material override on a render layer, but it could be cool to do it like more precisely.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, this is some sort of material override, yes. Because you can access like an entire group, then loop through the group and add a material. So
or maybe we just need more layers, so you can make sure that group is only on that layer. This one's finished, by the way. It's finished.
It's finished.
Yeah.
Awesome. But I don't know if any other questions about it. I was looking for a glass for the water. Oh, here.
So I have a question about the scene. Did you have problems with GI? Because I see some areas overexposed and some like washed out and so. Is there a problem with the eye in the render engine?
No, that's mostly ours, artists. It's our fault. Most of the time we tend to overdo this kind of once you get the nice feature, it's like it's everywhere, like Elephant's Dream. Before Elephant's Dream there was no compositor, but once they added it for Elephant's Dream, everything was glowy, like and I think we suffered that sickness, or how do you call it? Yeah, it's not about GI, it's about us, I think.
What?
Yeah. So, are you happy? Are you having a good time? Nice.
Oh,
yes.
wait.
Another question up there. Yeah, ask questions. It's nice. The rest you can see it on the DVDs.
When you have all your assets in their individual files and they have to fit together in the scene, do you just simply link in every other object to every asset's file, or do you have a quick way to switch between them and check they fit?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because when you're the problem I found on Tube was that as soon as you were working on one object, you had to close Blender and reopen your scene file and check that it was fitting together, and there was no quick way to jump from one object to the next to edit something that was linked.
Yeah, well, what you could do is just link a bunch of groups.
Actually, we did have a button to immediately open the file of the linked object, right?
Yeah.
Which is special
Campbell
Python
made an
script.
experiment when we were working on Yo Frankie, but I think it never made it to trunk. But what you could do is just like make a bunch of each object has to have like group, right? If you want to link it in. You don't link objects by itself. It gets messy. So you link in groups, and what you can do is just link like 5 groups, and then just change in the duplicate group. You get the empty, and you just change the duplicate group setting, and you scroll through them. But there's no way to access that library. But Andrea Eluvi had an idea about it, right? So hopefully it's an idea, right? It's like a concept. So maybe we'll see that soon. Yeah? No.
Okay.
So maybe we'll see that soon. It's an idea, but it's really, really handy for production. Yeah. And you want it? Yep.
Oh, yep. See, because this is recorded, we can hear you without, but...
I was wondering, is the carpet an array, or is it a single mesh?
It was an array until I needed to break it, like not make it really similar. So I had to break. I don't know. I thought it would be nice to have some like broken parts of it. Then David, he's always he's awesome. I learned this from him. Like an image has to tell sort of like a story, right? So I will just add random mess there, right? But he said, but if she has a campfire here, wouldn't be nice like if the mat or the carpet was a little bit burned, and some pieces there, and maybe you can add some pieces of wood there that she uses to when she wakes up, and she could stand on those little pieces of wood that I never managed to add all of them, but I added some. So it's like telling a story, but even if in the shot Sintel is just standing there, right? It's also, for example, there's this thing on the background I can show in the render. It's I have the picture around. Let's see. So this is the very first version without compositing. So one of the things, this is the first lighting version I did. But not the very, very first one, but yeah, with GI and stuff. So he also thought like it would be nice if we had like a drawing, like a not a painting, right? But like when you grave on how do you call it? Well, like a wooden piece made by him, like by her. Sorry? Yeah, exactly that. And I don't know if I'm going to say it, but yeah, that. And like telling a story, and if you then look carefully on the HD version, this actually has a little meaning. It's a little girl, and yeah, it's a little story, and it's everywhere. And I didn't really think about that beforehand. Like I didn't think about all these stories that can be. Hey, David, you're awesome. I didn't think about what like you can tell so many stories with just a still picture, and I learned that from David, and it's awesome. It's priceless. So almost all of the pieces here have a meaning. He even added more stuff, but for time I couldn't add all of them. But yeah, basically that's back to the question. It was an array. I modeled only one little strand, and then I just added an array, applied the array, and started randomly moving vertices and removing vertices, and luckily it worked.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other question around? Microphone?
We can see.
Yay.
So what were you going to show on this one? Something else?
Yeah, we're going.
How much time do we have?
Oh.
Exactly. So you might want to. Huh?
We have
Someone responded.
half an hour, I think, left.
So maybe you should show compositing.
Yeah, I'm going to show here because here I have the image, and here we're going to do like practical work. So this is one of the first renders I did. This is a render layer actually. That's why you see this weird shadow there. There I added Sintel. Then I took the seed buffer depth. Then if you put it on top, you can get this nice mist around. But unluckily, the seed buffer doesn't really work well with the alpha. Doesn't work at all with alpha. Only if alpha 0.
Yeah, but
so
that's
I used the
big
mist
trick.
pass.
Yeah. Can you show that somehow? Because the mist pass.
Yeah,
is
I'm gonna show
awesome.
it on the computer there. I just want to show then some color correction, then something. All these shots have no anti-alias. I did it a bit quick on this computer, so color correction and vignette. And that was one of the, not the latest, but yeah, one of the many. Here I also show. Also have.
Yeah, for the compositor, basically everything we rendered in the farm as well was rendered as a PNG and as an EXR, because the final movie we wanted to take the EXRs because it's the highest quality. But just to make the compositor work nicely, you can't load in huge 2K EXRs everywhere. It just goes way too slow. So we actually took the PNGs, I think, and made JPEG versions, low-res ones, and we edited the movie with the JPEGs. And then had a Python script that could go in and replace all the JPEGs with the EXRs to render the final movie.
Yeah.
And that was the colors as well, right? Because they turned a different color or something when they were replaced with the EXR, so we could easily check if they were all there or not.
Yeah. So this is also the shot I'm going to show now in that computer.
Ooh.
But these are some of the passes I used. There. Ooh. Lighting, adding objects, stuff. Playback is not extremely fast. I'm building this for a demo reel. See? The lens flare is the glare node with a ghost option. I'm going to show it now on that computer. So is there a way we can switch to that one?
Looking for the line. Wait. Questions? Him first. You've been already.
Could you explain a bit more, please, about how you did the replacing the JPEGs with the EXRs? Because wouldn't your sort of color balancing and changing exposure and anything like that you did change when you replaced something with low dynamic range to something with high dynamic range?
Yes, but that's something. The color grading, we did it on the EXRs, but like the really fine color grading, the basic one, we did it on the AVIs. Like they were like a bunch of JPEGs that the farm gets into AVIs. We get the AVI, so editing is pretty fast. And then we had this magic button that will replace it for EXRs, and then we do the actual final color grade. Yeah.
Thanks.
So.
Yeah, that was the thing in the studio. Final, or is it final? Or we had like 5 different final levels for everything.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the Z buffer. Have you been working with full sample oversampling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay.
It's impossible otherwise. It's really well. Some of the shots, I think there's no shots have no they have the normal OSA, yeah. But for at least for my shots, I use FSA.
All right.
It takes ages, but it does the work. It's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. And can you already load the full samples from on in Blender 2.4? You could press, I think it was R, to read from. Yeah. And I think in 2.5 it
Shift R.
didn't work.
Shift R. Shift R. I think Shift, because it. I asked that to Ton, because now the R is for rotating, because but now you can grab, rotate, and scale. Now it's in 2.5. Now it's Shift R. I asked for it to Ton in.
What do you rotate in the compositor?
Why not?
No. All right. Thanks.
Do you think we can get that computer to...
I don't know. No? What's connected? You're connected and we're not connected. Okay. Right. Well, this is connected.
Keep asking stuff.
Yeah. Go on. Now we can talk. Yeah.
So, sorry for being so late, but maybe you already answered it. But so, what's your approach to, like, how do you approach a really big scene? Like, if you have a gigantic scene in it, you have like camera moves through the scene. How do you start lighting that? What's like? Do you have something to start from, or like?
I think the thing that the global illumination helped, right? So basically, you put a lamp somewhere, you switch on global illumination, and your entire scene is lit. This is amazing, because we don't need to do lots of spots or make a huge spot and then play with the buffer too much. So it's kind of easy to make a global illumination of your entire scene. But at the same time, if you look at the movie, we didn't have too many scenes that were really, really, really huge. So there's a little alleyway, but you only see it from 2 or 3 different angles. And there's a little cabin that Pablo just showed. It's kind of small. I think the only one that we really had is the big city. And that immediately gave us the most trouble. That took, I think everybody in the team worked on the city for a week in turn, sort of like, I give up, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And the trouble was, because that shot, when she's running up the ziggurat and everything, was designed with the ending in mind. Because the dragon, in the end, has to fly away into the sun, right? Wait. And so the position of the sun and the position of the dragons and the cameras was kind of set by that ending, which meant that through the entire scene, the camera was mostly either going straight at the sun or directly away from the sun, which is horrible to light. Because if you're looking at the sun, all you see is a little edge around the models. If you're looking away from the sun, everything is lit completely equally, and you see no depth, you see no detail, no nothing. So in the end, I think, Björn, you changed the animation a little bit. Yeah, you moved the sun a little bit, and it helps a huge, huge amount. But it was. Yeah, that was awesome, and we were very happy to have you do that. That's, yeah. Hey. Too stretched? Maybe a bit. We can see it. Yeah. We're happy.
Wow, this also worked. Nice. So, sorry, I missed what you were saying, but...
Something about the sun position here. Yeah.
Oh, the sun position. Oh, yeah, we
because
changed.
it used to be just on the right of the
here.
arch, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this shot, you wouldn't see anything, basically.